Is this what your marketing budget looks like? Website maintenance, $250 a month. SEO agency, $1,000 a month. Social media management, $750 a month. Google ads, $2,000 a month. Video production, $1,200 a month. The problem isn't your marketing budget. That's not why you're having issues with your marketing and not getting quality leads. The problem is the leadership that you're guiding these vendors. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Without a Seat at the Table, the show that helps you business owners understand marketing enough so you can lead the marketing and objectives of your company without having to know how TikTok works, how YouTube works, why you should have a podcast, and what all that analytics mean in marketing that they try to show you that actually they think adds value. We're here to tell you there's only one thing that adds value to marketing, and that's sales. And I know that's what you deep down feel, and that's what we're going to talk about. But so many of us have so many vendors, like I discussed in the open, but yet we're not getting the leads that we want. Why is that? And the number one problem is chaos at leadership. Leadership and the guidance of how all those vendors communicate and go after the prospects as a uniform force. The problem is many of us in small business say the vendors are the problem. All they're doing is taking advantage and taking our money. Does it really cost $750 to manage our social media? What does that even bring in? If all that is brand awareness and some likes and some views, what's the purpose of that? That's true. That is 100% true. But the problem is that you need to create the guidance and the leadership so that the social media posts that are put out on behalf of your company actually do lead to sales conversations. Unfortunately, that's not the task of the person you hired. They do not understand your sales cycle. They do not understand your full marketing funnel, and they don't know what to do because they don't know. They're great at what they do. They're building your following, but it's not helping your business. The reality is good vendors can create bad results, and it's not their fault. We have our meetings, monthly meetings, and we go over what each of these vendors are producing. You meet with the newsletter person. They'll tell you how many clicks, how many opens. And these are the things they can measure. These are the things that they can bring to the table and tell you this is working. But does that actually equal this is working? And it's not their fault. They're just bringing the data that they can provide and the data that they know to the conversation. And just because it's not leading to a sale is not their fault. And that's the biggest thing I want you to understand. Your vendors are not always at fault. The vendors are doing what they're paid to do, and that is to create the content for your business. The core problem is they're doing exactly what you tell them to do. You tell a social media manager, we want to see 4 to 5 posts per week on Facebook and Instagram, for example. And that's what they're doing. They're accomplishing that. But has there been a true strategic conversation about what the goals of these posts are to be? Do we even understand why we're posting? Are we posting the post? And that's what happens all too often. You see a shiny object, such as social media. It's easy, we can put it out there. This is the thing that everybody talks about that's gonna change our business. But what they never talk about is the strategy that they put in to actually creating posts that work. You don't hear about the back end side of what it takes to actually succeed in marketing. What you've only seen was the results. This person has a newsletter and look how successful they are. But you don't truly understand how the newsletter works within their system, their marketing system into their sales funnel. You assume that they understand what your strategy is because why else would you be posting if it wasn't for a sale? The question isn't that why do they not understand, but why haven't you had that conversation with them? Perhaps they got frustrated because you didn't have the answers at the time. And it's not necessarily their fault because they all want to have a strategy. They'll ask you this at the beginning of your relationship. What's the strategy? What are we looking to accomplish? What kind of post are we looking to post? What are your calls to action? And people will say, oh, a call to action is book a meeting. That's lame. None of us want meetings. The only people that like meetings are salespeople. So you have not provided them with a clear path of success. What happens is they do exactly that. They execute what you give them. They create a social media post. They maybe create a LinkedIn article that educates people. At the end of the article, book a meeting with sales team. And then nobody books because nobody likes booking a meeting. Now, if you actually had a strong call to action, perhaps this would change. But it's not the job of the person that wrote the blog to create that call to action. It's not the person that creates the YouTube video to create the call to action. That's an internal leadership thing that you need to create on your team so that your company can succeed. You need one strategy, one message, one clear path of success, one owner that actually can measure what this outcome looks like and leads and tells the different vendors what they need to do to be a part of this process that equals success. You do not need more work. You do not need to add more elements of marketing. You need to do less work, but better work. This better work will actually result in better results. This is our action for you for this week. Write down all your vendors. Figure out who they are, what you pay them, and actually what is their goal. What do you want them to accomplish? What would be something that would actually help you if they would succeed for you? Then you need to take that list and see who owns that responsibility to make sure they understand that. If it's you, the business owner, I hope not, because you have so many other things going on. You cannot be reviewing daily social media posts. You cannot be reading weekly blogs. You cannot be reviewing weekly newsletters. You cannot be watching every YouTube video. You cannot be listening to every podcast that your company puts out. You need to delegate this to somebody that has the authority to make sure that all these people are putting in place the proper calls to action and the proper motives to actually bring these people that are listening, watching, and reading these materials that you're paying money to be created for your company into your sales system. So we're on video 2. If you're enjoying this, thank you so much for watching the first 2 videos. If you know another business owner that might find this interesting and helpful, please share it with them. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and we'll see you next week.